All right, for our last story, which we weren't planning on doing because it only happened about an hour before we came on air, but for obvious reasons, it is something extremely relevant to the topics we cover since it involves both Rumble, the platform that our show appears on and that we devote a lot of attention to because of its free speech commitment, and the country of Brazil, where we've done a lot of reporting, in part because I live here, and in part because we reported on it a lot, and in part because it's become one of the leaders of the global censorship regime. And those all come together in this story. We have constantly reported that the Brazilian Supreme Court is one of the most aggressive bodies anywhere in the democratic world for censoring political dissent. They often ignore the law in doing so. They just frequently send out notices with no due process, no trial, to every social media platform with a list of people that they say cannot be heard on those platforms. And even though a lot of these powers were supposed to be unique to the 2022 election, when we were told that the Brazilian Supreme Court needed more controls than ever over political speech to safeguard the integrity of the election, to protect it from disinformation. In a lot of ways, even with that election done and over almost a full year ago, in fact, over a full year ago, their censorship orders are continuing to escalate, and Rumble is inundated with constant demands and orders that they censor all sorts of Brazilians who have fled to Rumble as the only place where they can be heard. Obviously, Rumble doesn't want to be in the business of banning dissidents. They, in fact, were created to do exactly the opposite. So a year and a half ago, when the French government came to Rumble and said, you either remove Russian state media, RT and Sputnik, or we will ban you in France, Rumble said we would rather not be available in France and sue you than obey your unjust censorship orders. And if you go try and access Rumble in France, you get a note saying Rumble is not available in France, as the Rumble now goes through the French court system, trying to win the right to platform anybody that they want and not to have to take orders from the French government. That is something Rumble has done repeatedly. When the British government tried to pressure and coerce Rumble to cut off Russell Brand because of anonymous media claims that he engaged in sexual assault many years ago against various women. Charges, by the way, that have never turned into formal criminal charges. They may at some point, but they haven't yet. Rumble stuck their middle finger up at those British officials and said, you're not going to tell us who we can have on our platform, and we're not going to punish people who haven't been convicted of any crimes just based on the say-so of the media. So they've really demonstrated their commitment over and over. And now they've done the same thing in Brazil. Here, if you are in Brazil and you try and access Rumble as of today, this is the notice that you get, very similar to the one in France. Quote, note to users in Brazil, because the Brazilian government demands to remove creators from our platform, Rumble is currently unavailable in Brazil. We are challenging these government demands and hope to restore access soon. Now, what really is needed at some point is for a major big tech platform like Twitter under Elon Musk, which says it's devoted to the cause of free speech, or YouTube or Facebook, to unite and say to a country, whatever country, as a signal to the rest, if you're going to try and control what political speech we can and can't permit, we're just not going to be available in your country. And you can deal with your citizens and their rage and anger over the fact that they now can't use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble. So far, they're unwilling to do that. Rumble is the one that, even though they're the smallest of those, seems to be willing to bear the brunt of this crusade. But what this really shows is that even though we are really inculcated in the West to believe that we are free, that we live in the democratic world, we call ourselves a democratic world, this censorship regime has advanced to a point that you can almost not overstate. The amount of control that Western governments have seized, and I include Brazil in that as part of the democratic world, and systematized, is beyond what 4 years ago anybody would have ever imagined. The first test case for this was Alex Jones and Milo Yiannopoulos, when Facebook and Google and Twitter got together and banned those two expecting that most people wouldn't care because of who it was, and everybody cheered. And now the system is with us, and it predictably expanded, not just in the United States, but in multiple countries all over the world. And one of the reasons we're so proud to be on Rumble, one of the reasons we hope you will support Rumble, both through supporting our show, but also supporting the Rumble platform itself, is because they are genuinely committed, even at times when they have to sacrifice their own economic self-interest, to combat this censorship regime. It is not just part of their business plan, it is part of their DNA, of their moral crusade. And there are lots of ways to support Rumble. Watching shows, obviously, when you can watch them on Rumble instead of somewhere else. Patronizing advertisers. Supporting the shows through independent journalism, through subscriptions and memberships and the like. But this is a very important case. There are a lot of Brazilian dissidents who use Rumble. And obviously, the Brazilian people are now going to see that there's yet another service saying to Brazil, we refuse to enter your market because you just don't afford basic freedoms. We need more of this. We need more of these kinds of crusades. I can guarantee you that as the 24 election approaches in the United States, and as more and more elections approach in the EU, this is going to severely escalate. And the few places left on the internet that are devoted to free speech are the ones whose importance can really not be overstated. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.